Excel Language School. A real passion for learning.
Hi, it's David from the Excel Language School again, and I'm here today to talk about a Task 1 IELTS essay. Now, you may remember that you have to write 2 essays on the IELTS, Task 1 and Task 2, and Task 1 is the shorter one. You have to write 150 words about a chart or a graph, and it takes up 1/3 of your grade, so you should spend about 20 minutes writing it. Now, in this essay, the students had to write about a chart which I took from the British news magazine, The Economist. And so you will see right here that an interviewer asked people, as far as you are concerned, do you think that the next year will be better, worse, or the same as this one? And people could either say that next year would be better or worse, or maybe they would say that they don't know, or it will be the same. And the people surveyed were from 5 European countries and the United States. Now, I want to say about this essay that I'm going to talk about that is that this is a great essay. Now, why is it a great essay? It is a great essay because the student planned the essay before they wrote. They didn't just sit down and start writing. The student decided that he was going to divide the essay into 3 parts. First part was the introduction. Second part talked about people who were optimistic. Third part talked about people who were pessimistic. And then 3 parts, each part had about 50 words, total 150 words, simple structure, easy to follow. And so that meant that the student wrote a good essay in plenty of time to review it at the end for mistakes. Now, before we get started talking about this, I want to show you my favorite book in the world. And this is my favorite book in the world. And you can see it is Strunk and White, The Elements of Style. And if you go to university in America, usually your first year, they make you buy a copy of this, and it has many great rules for writing. And you see, I love this book so much that I own 4 copies of this book. And so it can be really useful, and it has a lot of great advice about how to write. Okay, now in my favorite book, The Elements of Style, on page 15, rule number 12 says, choose a suitable design and stick to it. And like I said, this is what the student did. The student decided, I'm going to write 3 paragraphs, and they will be about the same length, and I know what topic each paragraph is going to be about. So I'm sure it was a lot easier for him to write than it was for some other students. Now, in the first paragraph is quite good. I recommended that in the first sentence the student try to use some higher order vocabulary, especially when you are summarizing what the test question is about. Instead of just repeating what the test question is, you should try to use some different words, some paraphrase words. And then in the second sentence, the student talked about the way the chart looked. Specifically, the student talked about the horizontal axis and the vertical axis, which is also known as the x-axis and the y-axis if you study mathematics. And so the student named these axes and talked about what they represent. Now, in my opinion, that usually works better with a line graph instead of a bar graph like this, but it was okay, it did the job. So I thought it was okay. Now, in the second paragraph, the student starts off with sort of a vague phrase. He says the same number declined, and I recommended that instead of saying the same number, the student should make clear exactly what number he or she is talking about. And if you do that, it always gives you a chance to use some fancier vocabulary, like in this case the student might say the number of optimistically inclined people declined, right? Okay, so next. In the last sentence, the student wrote that a number was unchanged. And so in a situation like this, I always recommend that students use something called hedging language. And by hedging language, I mean words like almost, nearly. And you use words like this because, for example, if something was 23% and then now it's 24%, well, that's almost unchanged, but it's not 100% the same. So you, instead of saying that this number was unchanged, you should say it was mostly unchanged or largely unchanged, or you use a hedging word like that to show that you understand that the two figures may not be 100% alike. Now, in the third and last paragraph, again, the student has some nice, clear, easy to read writing. They make one little mistake in that the student uses the phrase in vague. Now, in vague is not an idiom in English. I think the student meant to say something like uncertain. So I recommend that they use the word uncertain instead. So I gave the student a 6.5 band score on this. I think that is the minimum the student will get. It's possible that they might get a better score. And so I thought generally it was a very good essay. Now, if you'd like to come down to Excel Language School and improve your writing skills, we'd be really happy to see you. So take a look at the information below. You will see that the information below includes a link to that book that I was talking about, The Elements of Style, and it will also have some information about how you can contact the school. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Excel Language School. A real passion for learning.